Hello everyone, welcome to the live broadcast today. If you're brand new here, welcome. My name is Fidel and I have a YouTube channel dedicated to personal health and natural healing. So thank you all for coming and showing up here. It's very nice to see you all. Hello, welcome everyone. So before we begin, I wanted to first say welcome everyone who's coming on here or who is brand new here. And I also want to say that this weekend on Saturday there's going to be a special announcement regarding various things that I've been working on. So be on the lookout for that. That will be coming. If you're subscribed to my email newsletter on my website, you will be emailed when it's all available. So yeah, I'm not going to give you too many details as to what it is, but it'll be available soon. So, going to the topic that we are discussing, it is the meaning of life part 2, which is my second video and my last video in a series of 5 videos that I did regarding, oh gosh, I don't even know what to really classify it as, but it's a 5 video series talking about toxic health and transgender and transhumanism, and then meaning of life part 1 and part 2. So we are going to part 2 here. So if you have not seen that, I would recommend checking that video out. It's about 10 or 11 minutes long, and you should just check out part 1 if you've not seen part 1 as well. But I will briefly summarize it here as to what it is about for anyone who has not seen it. In part 2, I pretty much discuss the 2 or more universes that we may reside in, such as if we live in one universe, there is another universe that could be the complete opposite of ours. Entirely different universe, different structure. There could also be parallel universes where many universes exist exactly like ours, but little things that are different. So if you make one decision in another universe, you may have made another decision. So there's like branching paths there, because ultimately any decision you make will lead to a very big difference in the end. So you have that. And you can also have nested universes where inside of our universe there could be 10 other universes, and inside of those 10 universes could be like another 10 universes. So we don't know the answers to that. We won't know the answers to that. So it's just an interesting topic for conversation. The other part of the video was also the cycle of life and death, the eternal recurrence of the universe, of ourselves. And this cycle is something that is a part of our universe. It's the cycle of life and death. We all are born, we all live, we all kill other animals, other humans, do harm to other humans. We do a lot of damage to others, and then we die. So we are born and we consume, and we die, and we reproduce in the progress if we have reproduce our DNA with children. So it's this cycle of abuse that happens, and you know we kill other living things, and we hurt other people. That is the existence of this universe. There is no escaping that, and it may be sad to deal with that and think about what goes on in the world, all the wars, all the crimes, all the hatred and anger towards humans, torture of humans and animals, and killing of humans and animals as well. And it is all very sad, but that is the rule of this universe. So there is no escaping it. You can try, you can do your part, but it's still part of this universe. And another aspect of eternal recurrence also is the cycle of abuse. And this was a very good, clear example for those who may not be aware. This cycle of abuse is you've been abused in your life. So let's say you're at the top here, you've been abused, and you go down. You go down this circle. Just imagine an imaginary circle here. and you go down and you're feeling worse, and then you start to get better again. Perhaps a good friend comes into your life, or something good happens, and you get to that point where the universe tests you again. And it tests you again, and you can either succeed and move on, or you can go back down and repeat. So that's what a lot of people are stuck in, this circle of life, this cycle of abuse. And that is very similar to this eternal recurrence, where the universe would repeat, our lives repeat, our actions repeat, and everything that we experience repeats and comes to us until we have tackled them and dealt with them. And that's essentially the theory of eternal recurrence, where we have to deal with things in order to move on. So if we want to move on past this eternal recurrence, then we have to learn the skills necessary to move on. So hopefully that summarized it. It's quite complex, I would say, but hopefully you are very familiar with it now, and let us get to the questions now. So if you have any questions regarding this, then please feel free to ask, and I will do my best to answer them. I know we already have a question here. Just a moment. So we jumped right in here. So Coconut Walrus says, okay, I can put the question right up there. There we go. Okay. Are there ways to access or perceive alternate realities, dimensions, without meditation or psychedelics? Well, let's say it's alternate realities and dimensions. See, now this is a little different than a different universe. This is different than like a parallel reality. An alternative reality could simply mean a different outcome to what had happened. You can just really think about that and really comprehend that. But the thing is, anything that does happen to you, it happens for a reason. It happens so you can either learn, it happens from past experiences so you can learn. It's part of this cycle. So where are you on the cycle? And when it happens again, do you move on from that, or do you fall into the same again and wait for it to come around again? As well as accessing different dimensions. I did briefly touch on that as well. If we are from 3 dimensions, the X, Y, and Z axes. So we are 3-dimensional creatures, but there can exist another, I think it's like 9 or so dimensions beyond that. So definitely look at the resources I have regarding that, because there are other dimensions that may exist. But accessing these, I wouldn't say there's really much any way to access them, because a lot of times with this physical body, we're not able to access them. So with some sort of meditation or psychedelics, it may give you a glimpse as to get there, but ultimately we won't be able to truly get to that point. So yeah, I wouldn't really say that there really is any way to access that. Okay, so we got another question here from Dom No. Do you have any tips for astral projecting easier? So for those of you who don't know what astral projection is, it's essentially when your spirit or your soul leaves your body and you can travel around in a physical, non-physical form in this physical world. Now you might go into a different higher plane of existence, but I would say it's not the same as if you were to die. You wouldn't get to that point. It's much lower. As for tips of how to do that, let's say there's plenty of guided meditations online you could listen to. I certainly say if you're practicing any sort of meditation or you're trying to accomplish a skill, then certainly be very patient with yourself and determined. Understand the progress by which you can get there, and then continue to make the steps to get to that point, and see where your progress is. And if you kind of step back from that progress, that's okay too, because you can't just continue climbing. Nothing is like that at all. Sometimes you may go down a little bit, and there may be a rough patch, and there may be something that just doesn't work out quite as well, or you may be you may see a lot of failure in what you did, and you may like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But it's that determination to continue pushing through. So, you know, you go up and you come down a little bit. Sometimes you can go down pretty far, but you can get back up, and ultimately the overall pattern should be going up. You will have ups and downs. So my tip for you is to just keep at it. Don't force anything, and just see what happens. Okay, so we have another question here from Jasper Guiot. I do apologize if I cannot pronounce your name. My grandmother recently passed. Well, I'm very, very sorry to hear that, Jasper. I'm wishing you much success and wellness moving forward. She was my best friend. My question is, when you pass, are you transitioned into a new dimension world with ties to the other physical world? Can she reach out to me? My theory on death has to do with the collective unconscious, which I discussed this in part 1 if you've not seen that, so I would recommend checking that out. Essentially, the collective unconscious is a collection of all of our consciousness together as one. That's pretty much where the saying goes, we are all one at the deepest level, because the deepest level within us is the collective unconscious. And that's essentially how reincarnation can be explained. That's how skills and traits that we never learned somehow we're very good at may be explained, as well as even some past lives may be explained via the collective unconscious. So I did mention in part 2 that when people deny the collective unconscious, when they deny death, when they deny the inevitable, when they're unable to move past this eternal cycle, when they're unable to move on past that, then you're ultimately rejecting death, you're rejecting the world, and you're essentially rejecting the collective unconscious. You don't want to die, you fear death. So, you know, I don't know your grandmother. I want to know, you know, how things are there. But usually I would say that someone who rejects the collective unconscious would essentially become a spirit. So they could be a ghost and manifest in the physical form as what we perceive as a ghost. If you merge with the collective unconscious, then your conscious still exists within there. So essentially, you could end up reaching out to her if you're able to tap into that collective unconscious. That may happen during our dreams. People may reach out to us who have died. We may have these out-of-body experiences that we may gather some insight into this collective unconscious, or like a past memory, as I described, like a past life. So yes, it is certainly possible, but I wanted to say to deliberately seek it out. I would say, you know, just focus on moving on past this and understanding what she was here to teach you, and learn all those wonderful lessons and be able to incorporate them. Okay, well, here's a good question here from Will Johnson. So, I found your channel yesterday and I was wondering what the question guidelines are. Well, thank you very much for finding my channel. I'm very glad that you're here and learning about this important topic. Is it strictly questions about the meaning of life and such? Ideally, yes. Any kind of question that you have regarding this video that I have made, the meaning of life, or if you want insight into any of those topics regarding death and God and what happens, you know, birth, life, death, any of that stage. I mean, we are living. We do live. We live, as I mentioned earlier, we are born, we live, we consume food and animals and plants, and we grow. That's how we grow. And we reproduce, and then we die, and then it's a cycle from that. Our kids do the same. Their kids do the same. It's a cycle of birth, consumption, reproduction, and then death. Okay, so our next question here is from Silver Daydream. Do you believe that some people can lucid dream and some people can't? Just like any ability, there would be some people who would be much better at this skill than others. So some people may be able to very easily lucid dream, whereas others, it would be much harder for them to lucid dream. So I would say that everyone has the ability to do anything, but you have to understand where your skills and abilities are. Where do they lie? So if your primary skill is computer programming, for example, and you are not good at finances, or maybe you're not good at drawing, or something along those lines, you can't force yourself to gain those other skills. You can attempt, you can try your best, but ultimately your skills lie in one area, and that is your primary focus, where your primary focus should be to fully dive into that. So for some people, lucid dreaming is something that is very important. They can do it very easily, and as I said, other people, it's much harder for them. You can do it if you truly desire, but for some people it will be harder. So just understand that. And hello to everyone else who is joining here. I see a lot of people joining. Welcome to the live stream. I'm very happy to have you here. Okay, this one's a bit off topic, but again, I can incorporate it into here somehow. I really can. Are you ever going to write a book? Sure, at some point I can write a book, but there are so many things that I would want to talk about, and there's so many other things that I'm focusing on at the moment. So yeah, I'm sure at some point. Okay, so this is an interesting question. Will Johnson asks, what are your thoughts on sky burial? Burial. There we go. Burial. I have no idea what that is. Could you care to explain what that is? I've never heard of that. I guess instead of the ground, they bury you in the sky. I've never heard of that. I don't know. I'm not really familiar with that. That's very interesting. Is this something new? Has it been around for a while? Okay. Now someone else said, is that with the birds? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're talking all about related to that, that's something else that is interesting as well. Sky burial sounds like the spread of dust of dead bodies in the air. Ah, okay. Well, I have no idea. I have no idea exactly what it is. I've never heard of it. But essentially, let's say we should discuss the process by which our body dies, because our body and our spirit are different. They're connected, but they're different from one another. So when our physical body dies, that's not all to our existence. There is still more to our existence spiritually. So when our physical body dies, that is all we know. We know this physical world, and that's what everything is based on, this physical aspect of life. I mean, you eat food because you need to eat food, because it fuels the physical body. If you didn't have to eat food and you were relying on some other source of energy, then sure, that would be great. But we need food. We need physical food to be able to nourish and give us energy in this physical body. The spiritual body, the non-physical body, doesn't need any of that. Okay, so here we go. Space Monkey asks, "Hello, Autumn." Well, hello to you. "I am excited to know your opinion about the eternal return. This concept has helped me recently in changing my perspective about life. Let go of regrets and nihilism." Nihilism. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Sometimes I can't pronounce some words correctly, so I do apologize if I messed up your name or a certain word. So yes, that was essentially what I discussed in part 2. If you've not seen that, Space Monkey, I talk about eternal recurrence, which is another name for eternal return. So what are my theories on it was pretty much exactly what I had mentioned. It's the cycle of life. We all go through this cycle. We are born, we live, we consume, we reproduce, and we die. That in itself is a cycle, because then our children do the same, and their children do the same. But inside of all of us is another cycle, and I mentioned earlier, like the cycle of abuse. You've been abused, and you're at this point, and you go down, you get very low, and then something brings you back up, and then once you hit that tip again, life tests you. It gives you a test. You can either pass the test or fail the test. And by failing the test, I mean you go back down. That's not necessarily a failure. There is no such thing as failure. But going back down means it's going to be harder to go back up, and you still have to face the same issues. Whereas if you pass it, you move on, you're able to cope with it, and you continue on. So that in itself is a cycle. Everything is a cycle when you look at it, and that is no different from the universe being a cycle as a whole. Because when we accept our inevitable fate of death, then we will move past this cycle that the universe is in. It's like that until we have gotten to a point where we are able to move on past that. So eternal return, yes, they absolutely can help you change your perspective, in that if you were to relive this life over and over and over again eternally, what would you change different today? There's so much to change today to be able to overcome these obstacles and things that are going on. Okay. Here's another good question here from, and again, hello to everyone who's just now joining. We are talking about the meaning of life, the eternal recurrence, and multiple universes. So pretty deep topic. So nice to have you all, and welcome. Okay, Yasmin Muhammad, yes, asks, "I want to ask about the judgment day after death. This is a popular theory in many religions regarding the judgment that happens after death. Who judges? The thing is, it is only humans that judge. We judge one another. We see other people as inferior and others as superior, when there is no distinction. We are all equal. We are all the same. Some people may see lower creatures on the food chain, such as animals, as lower than them, but they too are equal. Even below that, plants and any kind of very tiny microscopic organism, they're all the same. They're all equal. There's no such thing as higher and lower. In this physical existence, it sure seems that way, though, because there are certainly human beings, some of them, who are more intelligent than others, or who have learned to have some of those skills more than others, who may know how to use their creativity better than some other ones, but that doesn't make them any better. So this judgment aspect is something from a human perspective only. It doesn't exist after death. When you die, there is no judgment, because the thing is, who's going to be judging you? only humans judge. Okay. Alright, so I do apologize if I can't get to your questions. I'm starting to see more questions come in here, but it is a very good topic, so I'm very happy we can have this discussion. Okay. Okay, now this was a question that we answered a little bit earlier, or something similar to that. Dylanrb 97 again. Sorry if I can't pronounce your name. Says, hello Autumn, what are your thoughts on attempts to access the unconscious mind through dreaming or ayahuasca, LSD, or any other way? Also, are there any religious texts that you find give you meaning? Well, first, accessing your subconscious and your unconscious mind can be challenging, because any kind of repressed emotion, anything that is repressed within us, goes deep down within our mind. It's like this deep cave that we don't want to go near because it's scary. It's filled with everything that we have hidden away and repressed, and they come out in some ways. And they may come out in a variety of ways when certain memories come about and stuff like that. So accessing that can be very, very dangerous for some people, especially if there's a lot of trauma involved. But if you want to overcome some of those fears, you kind of have to essentially tackle what's in that dark cave and shine a light in it. You have to go in there with the torch and light it up. You have to illuminate it with your positivity. Are there any religious texts that you find give you meaning? I would say any kind of religion. I think that all religions have some sort of significance, but I don't personally believe in any one religion. Okay. So we got another question here from Yura Verduga. Do you take karma seriously? Do you believe that the karma someone carries is part of what makes a person's life the way it is? Very interesting question. There are certainly beliefs that if, for example, in this lifetime, let's say, for example, someone who is a murderer, who projects a lot of negativity onto others, who tortures other people, who tortures others, and ultimately, deep down, they really despise themselves. They really hate themselves. The question then is, when they die and they are reincarnated, are they born as someone who doesn't have anything, perhaps in a third world country, who is starving to death, who has very limited resources? Are they born as someone who is going to end up being the victim of a murderer? These are very interesting questions. I do not know the answer to that, obviously. I think that's a very feasible point, but I also see how karma may not have that sort of cycle after death. Karma could simply just be in this physical form that we are on. So if you make a mistake in this form, you will pay for it in some way in this form, as opposed to paying for it in another lifetime. But I think both theories can be very feasible, so it's really hard to say for sure. I think if you understand that, if you do believe that you are reincarnated and it's based on karma from this lifetime, then I think that would make you believe that the best thing you can do is try to be the nicest you can and be the most open and honest person you can be for yourself and for other people, projecting that positivity. So that can be something to really motivate you. So I would say, regardless of if it's true or not, you should always live each day to the fullest, and you should always be happy and always project positivity onto others regardless, and accept them for who they are in a non-judgmental way. But we are judgmental creatures. Okay, here's another question here from Donna Taylor. Donna Taylor. How do you open the third eye? So the third eye is right here. It's your ability to the psychic world, your intuition, your psychic abilities. Some people, it's very easy to open it. Other people, it might be overactive. Other people may be much more dormant. If you're not really able to sense certain things around you, or you don't have very much intuition that you listen to, that may be a sign that it's underactive. Overactive is if maybe you're overly paranoid, or you have delusions and you see things that aren't actually really there. That may be overactive, or you're very highly sensitive to energies. So it's about a balance. So you can certainly find ways of opening it online. There might be some guided meditations you can do, but a very good technique is to simply just close your eyes and just focus on this area and just imagine white light going into this. You can either imagine it going right through here, or going in through the top of your head. And then what I can do is I imagine it going through the crown chakra here, going down to the third eye one, and then the energy moving out. So you want to get rid of the negative energy as well and bring in the positive energy into that. Okay. This is a lot of questions. Again, I do apologize if I'm not able to get to them all. I'm really thankful for all these questions that I have received. I'm very, very thankful for all of them. Okay, I'm going to take a little sip of water here. Alright, so we got a question now from Crusher Kitty 1. Have you ever felt you received a message from the other side? The other side, do you mean as in someone who has passed away, someone who has died? Or by the other side, you mean perhaps some sort of phenomena that we humans cannot explain? I've never received a sign from someone who has passed away, but I have certainly received I do have a lot of intuition based on various things. I do have insight into things before they happen. Of course, not everything, and not everything goes the way that I plan, and things may go the complete opposite the way that I plan. You know, it is very upsetting when that happens, but it's a fact of life. Or dreams and premonitions that I have regarding something, an event, and then it's happening as I'm dreaming about it, or it comes true a little bit later. So in that way, yes, I have gotten those messages. So here it's a little bit off topic, but again, everything is connected. So this is all connected. It really is. Because this is the fact of our universe right here. So we live in a universe that is, the end goal is this transhumanist future where technology replaces nature. That's essentially what the goal of this universe is. And you can believe in that goal or not. I mean, to me, it seems like such a bleak outcome. It seems like such a negative one. But I can't let that interfere with my daily life. I cannot fixate myself on something that I cannot change, that's out of my scope of comprehension. So when we talk about social media, yes, social media is very damaging on someone who was depressed and can make someone depressed. This is why I do not use social media. I use social media as a presence to connect with my fans on here and my followers, but I don't have a personal account, if that makes sense. Like I have an account to maybe browse around and share some stories about natural health, and to like I may make a lot of Twitter posts about articles that I find regarding this transhumanism or genetic modification of plants and animals and humans and stuff that I may not agree with, but it's to wake people up to understand that this is what's going on in the world. I mean, you can try to change it, but I would say try your best to change it, because even though there may not be any way to change these things, you can still try. So the thing is, I used to have a personal Facebook account. I would use that. I would connect with my personal friends that I would have. And then I realized just it was a total waste of my time. It was just a complete, I would say at this point, Facebook is just a complete crap hole, essentially, to put it lightly. I don't know why anyone really uses it. I really don't. So I just use it for the people who use it. And I don't really post much on there. I just post important things about, you know, maybe a live stream or a new video or upcoming things. But yes, it can make someone very depressed, because if you're already lonely, if you feel lonely and depressed as it is, and you're going on Facebook and you see friends who have such a wonderful life, they have so much money, they're going on trips, they have a wife or a husband and kids, something you've always wanted, and you're alone, you don't have anyone, and you feel depressed already, it'll make you end up feeling worse. So it's certainly, I don't recommend to really look at those things. So if pretty much if you're going to use social media, learn to control it. Some people spend hours on it, and it's very sad. It really is. Okay. Okay, so here's another question from Phantom the Data. What do you think happens to people? Okay. What do you think happens to people who become better or do good deeds only because they fear karma, hell, etc.? Ah, yes. Some people may fear what's going to happen after death. I mean, ultimately, we all fear death. We all fear the inevitable that will happen to all of us. When we're young, we think we will live forever. And through technological means in the future, it may seem like we will be able to live forever, you know, transplanting our mind or our brain into an artificial body. But ultimately, this physical body dies, and we die. But our spirit still remains. So, but we fear death of this physical body. We may fear, in multiple ways, we may fear death for the sake, because we may leave a lot of things behind that maybe were unfinished, or leave a lot of people behind that meant a lot to us. People who were very close, or a family, or friends, or a partner. We fear leaving them behind. I mean, when you lose someone close to you, you know, whether it be a death, or they even just move away somewhere else and you're not able to see them anymore. It's hard. It really is. But you can move on from that. That is the wonderful thing. You can move on from that. So for people who deliberately go out of their way, there's a type of, you have to be genuine with what you do. If you're not genuine, if you don't genuinely put the effort in and genuinely have a reaction, and you're forcing it, then you're doing it because you fear something, and that fear is what will inevitably catch up to you. So, for example, if you feel forced to do something because maybe it makes someone else happy, or you're lying in some way about something because you don't want to risk something else, and it's not going to end well because you're forcing something. You don't have a genuine emotion attached to it. Whereas it's like if you're here we go, here's a good example. It's like if you're working a job you don't like, you're not going to put the positive intention into that. So if you're working at a fast food place, you may hate it, and you put that negative intention that you have into the food order, into the customer's food order, and then they eat that food, which, you know, if it's, I don't want to get into a topic about you know, animal and stuff like that, but if you, a lot of fast food, it's not positive as it is. There's a lot of death involved with the animal killing and stuff like that, and, you know, eating that death and that negativity as it is, and then someone else who's cooking that, putting negativity into that because they hate the job, and then you consume that, and if you don't know how to clear that from you, you're just consumed essentially just a ton ton of negativity, and that's all you've done. Oh, that was that was a much bigger question than I was thinking it was going to be, but that was a good one. Thank you very much for that. Okay, here's a good question, and again, I do apologize if I'm not able to get to them all. There are quite a bit of questions here today. So sometimes, Yasmin asks, sometimes I hear my voice in my head calling out for someone I used to know. They are alive. It seems like I am helping them. Do you think it's their dream? Do you think they are seeing this as well? Interesting. Yeah, because the thing is, in this physical world, you can be here. Someone can be here, and someone can be here, very, very far apart from one another. But in the non-physical world, that physical, spatial existence, it simply is not there. So, when you tap into that, you could connect with anyone who is on this physical or Earth, somewhere else in the universe, or someone who has passed away. So it could very well be that this person is having a dream and they are somehow connecting with you in some way, because they don't have to physically be there. They can connect telepathically. Like if I'm really focusing on someone here who could be on the other side of the world, and we're just thinking about each other, and I'm thinking of a number and they're thinking of receiving that number, they could essentially receive that number or that word or whatever just by concentrating and utilizing that ability that we all have. Welcome, Joanne. I saw you earlier, so welcome here. Okay, and Joanne says, remember when money was the root of all evil, now it's attention thanks to social media. Yes, it's honestly the biggest roots of all evil, so to speak, is money and greed. That is what runs the world. It really is. I mean, it's sad, but that is the rule of this world to get to the desired outcome. I know you may want to change that and try your best to change that, and I would say give it all that you got to change that and fight for what you think is right. But ultimately, understand that even if you do not succeed, know that you are making a difference regardless of whatever outcome there is, if it's predetermined, this outcome. Okay. Dodhan, Dodhan, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Do you believe in aliens? Aliens, I guess a lot of people say as creatures that are out of our galaxy, who are out of our universe maybe, who may be visiting us here, humans. And an interesting theory is, what if a much higher civilization decided to run an experiment on Earth where they said, okay, we're going to put some of our DNA onto this planet and see what comes of it, see how we came to evolve, essentially. So it could be let's say, millions of years let's just not even say millions, just say thousands of years in the future, when our civilization is very advanced and we're traveling space. Let's just say we decide, okay, let's go to a vacant planet and let's see how we can make life on this planet and observe it. So we don't know. We do not know the answer to that because we are so tiny compared to the grand scheme of things. Okay. So here's a good question as well from Drylamber97. Do you think that the use of technology in everyday life is making people's concentration and autonomous function worse? Well, the thing is, we all have this ability within us to connect to this non-physical existence that we have. But due to what the desired outcome is of this universe, which is this transhumanist future, that has to go dormant. That has to be silenced down. So that's why a lot of so-called natural ways of dealing with things is not the mainstream. It's not that it doesn't work, it's because it doesn't promote this transhumanist agenda. So in another universe, let's say the agenda is mostly to promote a natural way of human evolution as opposed to technology at all. Let's say there's no technology and just humans just evolve naturally as it is, but they're very civilized as it is. Maybe then a very popular thing could be some sort of natural remedies and medications and stuff like that. But here, that's not the way it is because of money and greed being number one. So technology does indeed suppress these natural ways. Technology, I mean, so many people, the first thing they do when they wake up, what do? When you wake up, you may check your phone, check your emails, go on social media. When you're bored, what do? Instantly grab that phone. Instantly check your social media, play a game, check your email, do whatever. So instead of learning skills that we can calm our mind and relax, we instead resort to technology as the coping mechanism. We don't know how to cope without technology now. And it's a sad thing indeed because younger and younger people are becoming addicted to it. I did discuss this in my I think it was an internet addiction video from many months ago. So that one's a pretty short video, I believe, but it does tackle the part of children using it. Okay, hey there, Graveyard Queen. We got a question here. And again, I do apologize if I'm not able to get to all of your questions. I'm trying my best, but I sometimes not able to get to them, or I sometimes skip them accidentally. But yes, nice for you all to come here. I'm gonna be going for probably a little bit more than 10 a minute. So, okay, what do you feel? Okay, what do you feel there are other dimensions? And if so, what would you describe as your ideal of an alternate universe or more? Well, the thing is, if we live in a parallel universe and everything we do branches off in a different universe, like let's say you decide one day, should I eat the cake or the salad? Let's say in one universe, you eat the salad, but in this one, you eat the cake. In the other one, how would that make a difference? That one action could make a huge difference for the rest of your life. So there could be many branches that come off of that. So if you think of a tree, your tree's growing, it's like one, and then it starts to split, and then all these branches come out, all the leaves come out. If all the leaves or all of your possible life that you have as just you, I'm not talking about past lives or anything like that, but just you, all those possibilities are open to you. You just have to essentially shift your perspective into which one you want to go towards. You consciously. Because the thing is, you can shape your reality by what you think about, by your actions. Everything that you do has a consequence, whether it be a good consequence, so to speak, or a bad one. And by bad, I mean something else that you're not ready for maybe, and you have to learn and grow from. If you do a good deed, maybe you'll be rewarded. If you do something negative, you may be disciplined in some way. Okay. Very good question here from Yasmin. Do you believe in the famous saying, "It was not meant to be"? For me, I struggle with that a lot. Usually I hear this a lot when it comes to relationships. Because indeed, if something was meant to be, it will happen. If something is not meant to be, it won't happen. So we have to remember that, like this branching path that I mentioned earlier, this branching path is determined by your actions and by your past. So if you were raised a certain way and you did certain actions in your past, then you will grow up repeating those actions. And it's like that cycle again, that cycle. You get to the tip there, and you can either fall back into the same pattern again, or you can move on, develop new patterns, and progress past it. So it was not meant to be can be very difficult to grasp, especially when it comes to, like, let's say you have this wonderful job opportunity. You're going to be making a ton more money. You'll be able to pay for you and your family's, food and home, and you won't be poor anymore. And you have all the skills required to do it, and then someone else comes in with less skills than you and gets it. Why could that be? There are many answers to that question. I mean, it may not be meant to be because of how you currently are in your life. You may not be ready for that. You can imagine in your mind what it would have been like if you did get it, but that doesn't mean that it would have turned out that way. You could have gotten that job, and let's say, it was a whole different job in a different location, perhaps still not very far away from where you currently are, and you go there, and maybe you despise it. You're making a lot more, but maybe you would despise it. Maybe there's some kind of accident on the job and you were killed, and then your family has no one. So you have to look at it like that. It's not always going to be the positive scenario in your mind. And it's like the same with anything like that. So if, for example, there's not just a job, but if there's someone that you're interested in, like a romantic partner, but they're not interested in you, it may not be meant to be. Or there's some kind of compatibility issues, it may not be meant to be. So there are many reasons why that could be. You can work on some of those things, but ultimately, if it's not meant to be, it won't happen. If it will, it'll come together again. It will come back, and it will make a lot more sense as to why it may not have happened initially, or anything along those lines. Very glad that all this information is very useful to everyone. So I know it just all flows out. That is what I'm here to teach, that you can get all these ideas to flow out naturally through you. Okay, so Pink's Haze asks, why is loneliness so hard to fight against, and is the universe trying to tell me something by it? The universe is always trying to tell you something. There's always a little nudge. It's like, come on. And not that long ago, I heard such a amazing theory from someone, and that was, let's say you're pacing around the house. You just keep thinking of something over and over again. It's getting you more and more worked up. And let's say you stub your toe, or you step on a shard of glass. All of a sudden, it just stops you. That is the universe telling you, stop it. Stop thinking about this. Move on from this. That's like what happened to me the other day. I was thinking of something repeatedly over and over and over again. I was just walking, pacing in the hallway, just kind of thinking of all these different scenarios. And I stepped on this piece of glass, this shard of glass, and it went right up my foot. And it did not feel good at all, and it was bleeding, but that was what stopped it. It stopped it. It stopped that thought. So this loneliness, we only feel lonely in this physical existence because we may not relate to people, because we don't know how to relate to people. We don't think there's anyone else who can relate to us. But that's further from the truth. We are connected to this vast, and I've made this metaphor before. If you think of the collective unconscious like a centralized computer, and we are all terminals, far out in the distance with each our own program, then that's essentially us. We all can connect back to this source computer where all the information is. We just have to open ourselves up. And by opening ourselves up, in this metaphor, is like lessening the firewall we have built up. That's a good one. We built up it is like a computer program. We built up this firewall, and we block things from getting in, both good and bad things too. So we try to block out just the bad, but it blocks the good too. There is no such thing as life without good and bad. The duality of life. It's there. So it is hard dealing with that loneliness, especially, there's many, if you have one family member that you're really close to, and they pass away and you feel lonely, or, just maybe you have a wonderful animal with you and they pass away. So you can feel lonely, but it's, Oh, yes, a little nudge. Sometimes you need a big nudge, yeah. If you keep ignoring that little nudge, it will become a big nudge. It really will. It really will. It will come out to get you in some way. If you keep hiding it and repressing it and not able to communicate and bring it out, it'll come out in some way. And it may come out in a way that you may not want it to come out. That could be very bad for you, but that's the way it had to come out for you to learn, because you kept ignoring it. Okay, so this is the last question that I will answer here from Yura. It goes along with what I just answered here. I struggle with loneliness too. I have been trying to find what it means. Autumn, what do you think it means? It seems to be a big trend in modern life. Yes, indeed. Here's the thing, and for some people it's very obvious. I mean, in this day and age, we are more connected than ever, but we've never been more unhappy and lonely than ever. You have the whole internet to search up anything you want and meet anyone you want, but you feel so lonely. Loneliness comes from a place when it has nothing to do with the online world. It comes from a place of you feeling though there's no one else that you can connect with, that there's no one else that shares any sort of similar ideas as you. Or, for example, you could have friends, you really could, but maybe none of them truly get you. Or maybe there's an aspect of you that you hide from them because you feel as though they would judge you. Or something else entirely, because you can't fully be yourself and you struggle to fully be yourself. Whereas if you open up and truly be yourself, and truly be who you actually are deep down, then you will attract the people who are meaningful for you, who will make a difference in your life. Because the thing is, when you hide, you will attract people who like that version of you that you are showing them, not who you really are. So loneliness, you may build up a wall, but you have to tear down that wall if you want to overcome loneliness. Loneliness is also not about looking at other people online and connecting with them online and perhaps being jealous of certain things. It's about actually truly knowing someone else if you really want to connect with someone else. But the thing is, you may not have any friends or any type of connection or anyone to talk to, but you could still not feel lonely. But that's not usually how this world works, because we are human beings. We desire connection with others. That's a core part of who we are. Because at the deepest level, we are all one anyway. This collective unconscious that is at the deepest part of us is all of us together. So when we are born into this physical body, we are born alone. So we try to make those connections. That is a mission in life that we do. So hopefully that could help a little bit. So I really want to thank you all for joining this live discussion. This is going to be the last live stream that I do for probably a little while, and probably the last video that I'll have up for a little while. Primarily because there's a lot of other things that I've been focusing on recently. Like if you joined right in the beginning, I gave you a very special little hint as to what's coming on Saturday. What's coming on Saturday? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's something you can wear, it's something you can buy, it's something you can look at. It's amazing. So, yes, you'll be able to buy various types of merchandise. On Saturday, it'll all be available 25% off. I will send all the information out, especially if you're subscribed to my email newsletter on my website, autumnasphodel.com/newsletter. There you will be able to keep up to date with all of my videos and live streams and the merchandise when that goes on sale, as well as just any sort of other miscellaneous news. So yes, it'll all be available very soon. I'm very thankful for anyone who is looking forward to that and will be purchasing that, because it was such a I spent so much time working on that, and I had help from someone very close to me helping with that as well. So we worked very, very hard on that. So I hope you enjoy it, and if you don't want to miss it, please do subscribe to my email newsletter. Other than that, I am very thankful for your support, and any sort of support you can give me, that it is greatly appreciated. If you share this video or get this information out in some way. So thank you so very, very much, and I will talk with you all again very soon. I won't probably be around for a little bit, but I will be back again, and we will be having other discussions and topics to discuss. So thank you so very much again, and I am so appreciative and thankful for your support and acceptance and love. So thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your night.